Good morning, good afternoon, good late afternoon to some of you joining us. Thank you. My name is John Carroll. I'm the CEO and founder of the Service Council. A very warm welcome to this edition of the inService podcast series. Today's topic is Transforming Field Service Agent First, brought to you by Salesforce. And I am joined by Michael Gonzalez, the VP of Product Management from Salesforce. Michael, a very warm welcome, the Vanna White Wave, and we'll get to introductions in just a moment. Thank you for joining. So this topic is a really interesting one. The Service Council has been tracking this whole notion of shift left and the importance of how can technology automate, how can technology enable dispatch accuracy, dispatch efficiency, perhaps even deflect dispatch. It's been something that's building over the last several decades now. And we're starting to see and realize the impact of the institution of AI in the process of triaging, diagnosing, augmenting, and creating a relationship between human and agent assisted that's automated by AI and some of the latest, greatest technologies. And I had the opportunity to listen to a podcast. Mark Benioff from Salesforce was on a recent podcast with Peter Diamandis, which is the Moonshots podcast. And he talked about how Salesforce is practicing what they preach, right? Agentic and Agent Force has been launched into the world, and there's like a big rally around it. There's new customers being announced every other day, I feel like. Really a lot of excitement and enthusiasm.
You can go to help.salesforce.com to go and engage with it directly. So we've got it live on our site. So another opportunity to go and try it out.
Absolutely. And he was talking about 36,000 customer support requests coming inbound weekly on help.salesforce.com, and how roughly 10,000 of them are human assisted, traditionally speaking, and how deep learning and agentic AI and generative AI and all these awesome capabilities that are being enabled by data, a new relationship with data, is starting to triage and diagnose and create this layer in between and on top of the amalgamation of all these data inputs and outputs that are enabling the customer 360-degree view, and the impact that it's having in terms of that moment of truth with the customer in resolving certain instances and issues that might arise in that journey. So a really important topic, and we're going to dive right into it. And I'm so pleased to be joined by Michael Gonzalez from Salesforce. Michael, a very warm welcome. We know you. We've had the opportunity to get to know you over the several months in planning of this podcast. But for our listening audience, they might not know you so well. So maybe we could start with an introduction to yourself, and then maybe a little bit of a talk track on Salesforce and some of the things that y'all are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, John. And thank you, Gerardo. It's going to be fun to talk to you guys today. So I lead our AI product management at the Salesforce Field Service team. So I've been with Salesforce just over 10 years and have been a part of some amazing transformations. I started the first half with our Lightning platform group and how we transitioned our customer base from Classic to Lightning, brand new UI technology, modernizing the interface, helping users get to be more productive with their sales and service instances. And about 5 years ago, joined the field service team and have just been part of just amazing growth within this group. So very exciting times. And this past year, been laser focused on AI solutions, everything from embedded generative experiences to now Agent Force and building out agents that are really doing some amazing things in our customer organizations. So this is a great time. I mean, never a dull moment at Salesforce, and even 10 years in, I mean, I'm excited just to fire up the laptop every day, get into the office, and figure out what we're going to go and do next, which is exciting.
The rocket ship continues. Michael, a very warm welcome. Thank you for that introduction. To our listening audience, we hope you become our participating audience today. To our LinkedIn Live audience, we see you. Thank you for joining. If you care to comment, react, if you want to submit questions, Michael has agreed to do a little bit of tap dancing throughout the discussion and all those inbounds. So we appreciate any participation you wish to have. And for our listening audience, today's podcast will be available post-event. You can download it on whatever podcast channel you subscribe to and get your podcast from. And you can also visit our LinkedIn page as well as our URL, theservicecouncil.com. Gerardo, I'm going to turn things over to you to lead us through today's discussion, and I'll be reacting as we go.
Perfect. Thank you, John. And again, welcome, Michael. Thank you for joining us. And where I would like to start is with one of the most best recognized trends that we see in field service, and that is the talent crisis. That is reinforced in our Voice of the Field Service Engineer research that we conduct on an annual basis. Over 10,000 responses that we've received over the last couple of years on this. And that says 49% of the engineers do not plan to make a career out of it. Out of those that are planning to leave, 51% are planning to do that within the next 3 years. And this rings a lot of red flags. But one of the things that we talked about, John and I, in our top 10 predictions for 2025 podcast at the beginning of the year, was how some of the newer forms of artificial intelligence, namely Gen AI, agentic AI, can be a game changer to this problem and how we think of the solutions, not the problem, but how do we change those dynamics. So where I would like to start is, given your background, if you can provide a little bit of clarity and acknowledging what's real around this, the definition of agentic AI, how is it different from other forms of artificial intelligence?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a great place to start for our conversation here. So the way that we think about it, and maybe you've heard Mark talk about it as well in podcast or different keynotes that we've had, is we really feel like we're in this third wave of AI with agents. And so we started with predictive and the amount of data that you need to get to insights, and the insights are really powerful and valuable, but they're fairly static, right? You take action on top of them. You don't engage too much with that kind of an AI technology. And you had co-pilots, which really leveraging and unlocking the power of generative AI. And really where we are with agents today is we're able to actually have agents who can go and understand what the problems are that are being presented to them more intimately, and to be able to reason and to be able to take action really on their own, right? So we're in this place where that fully autonomous AI is really, it's real and it's here, and our customers are deploying it, and they're seeing some really good uptake of it from their customer base, getting great feedback and driving a lot of the CSAT. And really for field service, this is the technology that's going to help keep, I think, those technicians in the field focused on doing the right kind of work. What we hear from techs are, hey, you know what, the software that we use, it takes forever to get anything done within it, right? We even filling out timesheets, entering data. So they really want to be able to tap into all this awesome AI technology, which they're using day to day. A lot of those technicians, they've fired up ChatGPT, and they've probably played around with it, and they're going, why can't my job be this easy, right? So agents are really unlocking that opportunity to put them with the right tools and with better tools than they've had before in the field.
Yeah, that's a great introduction. And if I could double click on one of the things that you said, is that interaction with the rest of the workforce, with the remote support representatives, with the field service engineers. And during that same podcast, I was arguing that the main distinction is that this is not a technology that gets utilized, but it's a technology that people have to interact with, that autonomous nature that you were highlighting. So in concept, that sounds appealing, a little bit scary, perhaps even. Can you talk a little bit about some of the specific use cases in which these AI agents are being deployed today in order to interact with the human workforce?
Yeah, it's another great point. When I think of what agents can deliver to a field service organization, I think of them as being the new teammate that they can bring on board, that they can work with, and just like any team, right? The agent will help make them successful, but then from the technician, from the dispatcher, from those primary personas that we know, I mean, they're gonna also help make those agents successful in their own right too. A couple of areas that we've seen some pretty strong uptake, and where we've got some really compelling use cases, is just one on the scheduling front. So agents really unlock the opportunity to provide true zero-touch scheduling, right? So we have optimization. We've got a lot of ways to be able to optimize and automate scheduling workflows. Now agents provide you that ability to handle the high touch part of scheduling, right? Where they can go through, they can interface with customers, they can help solve scheduling needs. And on the technician front, being able to have an agent who actually understands the wealth of data that these organizations have invested in, and they understand it very well and can react to it, and equip those technicians with the ability to troubleshoot, right, and live while they're working in their flow of turning wrenches and interfacing with customers like that. It's really powerful stuff. So we're seeing a lot of really great usage and exciting developments from our customers as they're putting this stuff in the field. It's really great to see.
Gerardo, it brings up some of the use cases that Michael was sharing, brings up some of the lingering effects of an inefficient dispatching, scheduling, routing optimization process that is still lingering in market, and that we're hearing from members every other day, which is, there's still a high degree and a high prevalence of no fault found scenarios. There's still a high degree of repeat visits, and those repeat visits are caused by ineffective triage and diagnosis, where the skill set requirement may not have been unraveled enough to be effective, or the parts that are required for the scenario weren't provisioned. And then that trickles down into so many other areas of the business in terms of cost breakdown, right? If you're sending out a technician to no fault found, it's unbillable. We all know that dispatch, there's a true cost there. And we also know that in scenarios where you don't effectively triage and diagnose an issue, and you have to shotgun parts from around the world, that increases costs as well. So I think that this is a tremendous trend that we're signaling here in terms of this whole movement to the left. Let's get better around the remote aspect, and how does it link to field service? And one of the things that I go back to in Mark's discussion and in our discussions leading up to this, Michael, is, look, it's not displacement. This isn't about technology displacing human. It's about a new relationship between human and technology, and how can you become more effective as a result of it. And I love that message that's being brought through by your leadership all the way down.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel pretty strongly about that. Field service is an incredibly high touch, human centric type of a business and operation. And we need people. We need people to understand how schedules need to come together. We need people who actually go out there in the field, interface with customers, turn wrenches, and are doing mission critical work. So it's incredibly important. And I think agents plus like I mentioned before, like the opportunity to have that teammate in there, they can go off and pick up work. So one thing that leads me to think about it, just in the way you were describing scheduling, I hope that one thing that comes through that is scheduling is very difficult. It's an incredibly difficult problem to solve. And even in our own daily lives, I would argue that scheduling isn't perfect. We've probably all gone, hey, why isn't this easier, right? We've all got to jump through multiple applications. We've got to wait, a lot of time to just get to the right thing. Sometimes we're calling, to schedule, and we're leaving voicemails. So it is painfully difficult. And those are things that we hear from our dispatchers who are out there and have to go ahead and handle these schedules, from customer service agents and live humans that take in calls, right? With all the hoops that people have to jump through just to get to that perfect outcome, why can't this just be simpler? And so this is a great place where agents can go off and do that. Instead of having to go and interface through multiple applications, instead of having to, play phone tag or wait for, chat responses, can we just do this all in real time? And so that's really where we see customers implementing these agents to put them out, engage with their customers, identify what that problem is, right? The agents can start to empathize, and sometimes they can empathize even better than some of the customer service reps out there. And really get to that right scheduling outcome that helps solve this very complex problem, right? So I'm glad that you did that. I'm excited that we could geek out about scheduling all day and the complexities there. Maybe that's for another podcast at some point. But yeah, I think you hit it just right on the head.
I mean, if you look at the calculus, before I turn it back to Gerardo to lead us through here, he talked about, Mark, your colleague, talked about 10,000 human-assisted scenarios in going to help.salesforce.com. And he talked about half of them being handled by agentic AI at this point. And I want our listenership to hear that, because if you could reduce your human-assisted triage and diagnosis steps with agentic AI and reduce 14% of those inbound, that inbound volume to an automated tool that could help you triage, deflect, avoid dispatch scenarios, and in many cases resolve issues for the customer, what would the impact to your organization be, right? In terms of staffing, in terms of cost opportunity reductions, in terms of customer experience improvement, right? We're all in this world of immediacy of support. How can we eliminate the need for support altogether? But if we need it, how immediate can we get it, right? We've all got that short attention span to getting resolutions to our own scenarios. So I think it's just impressive results, and I love the practicing what you preach and how you're deploying it in that environment. And those were just quite impressive results. So kudos to the team.
Yeah, for sure. Completely agree. Yeah.
Back to you, Gerardo.
And building on that, so this is all very new technology. The implementations are pretty fresh. I would like to see if you can share with us one of the customer stories of how are they quantifying the results that they consider impactful. We have our survey in market right now on the state of artificial intelligence and service technology. By the way, these are the last days to have your voice heard in that, get access to the reports. We're presenting the summary findings from that on Thursday next week. But after that brief and shameless announcement, one of the things that we're seeing there is 55% of the organizations who are thinking about AI have actually already implemented and seen quantifiable results coming out of it. So that helps demystify some of this pipe dreams about every new technology and the scar tissue that many organizations have developed over the years. Can you maybe share one customer story of what has impact meant for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a chance to bring the Auto Club Group, which is one of the AAA branches that serves, a big part of the United States. I think the second largest group. They have millions of members. They've got thousands of technicians out there each and every day. And when we engage with them, they said, hey, you know what? We've got all sorts of problems that would love to go and solve with AI. There's operational things we want to figure out how to get to a state where we can, forecast the right, capacity to make sure that we've got enough technicians on the road. When we go to dispatchers, there's inefficiencies all over there. When it comes to the frontline, to technicians that they're bringing on, they really need to be able to, get up and going and moving really quickly, because their business is truly like mission critical, right? We think about roadside assistance. It's important to make sure that you're equipped with the right information and that you're ready to jump into action right away. And so the way that they looked at the technician problem is they measure the minutes that it takes for every job, and every customer is doing this today. They understand that metric of how long it takes the technician. They predict, they have a sense of what they think it should take, and then they have the real data in terms of what it actually takes to complete work. And so what we settled on is that let's go in and let's see if we can go ahead and directly address this. Can we drive the number of minutes that someone is out there in the field down with AI? So we worked with them. We partnered with them very closely. It was just an incredible engagement. We continue to work with them as well with other features that they are wanting to bring to market to their base. But we did it very quickly. We were able to settle on a use case, map it to a very significant problem, to identify kind of where some of those outcomes are that would make them jump on it and say, hey, this is actually really something that's important. And just with a generative work briefing, we got together on a Monday. We had an hour and a half call where we settled all that information, and then they rolled their sleeves up and started to get hands-on with the technology. A couple of days later, they deployed it out to some technicians. They got some feedback in. By Friday of that week, they already had the first check-in from the updates that they needed to make based on it. So they're able to jump in and get to resolving this really rapidly. And I think it's a great story because it tells you that you can move very quickly with AI. You don't have to have these massive projects. You really need to get your sleeves rolled up. You got to get hands-on with this. All your competitors out there are doing it already. So if you haven't started, I want to create maybe a little sense of urgency there to get going.
Michael, you bring up such a great story. Scott Verbracken, the VP of Automotive Services there at AAA, is on our board. He's keynoted at our symposium, and he's just a wealth of knowledge. And one of the things that I extract from your talk track is some of the opportunities for innovation at scale are in those micro moments, right? Those minutes that can be saved within that delivery process out in the field. And I'll tell you why that's important. It's important for two reasons. One, at scale, right? If you have 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 engineers that are out there, and you can save minutes on every one of those work orders that they're encountering day in and day out, well, what does that extract to as you look at it daily, weekly, monthly, annually,
Exactly.
right? That's one element. The second element is if you take even that same example, AAA, it could mean life or death. That's a high fatality industry. Scott talked about how many fatalities happen in that industry constantly, and they have the slow down, move over initiative, and really built around humanity and how can they keep their drivers safe. And minutes can save lives as well. So it's not only life-saving to the business and enterprise in terms of cost reduction, efficiency, utilization, availability of workforce that can take on more capacity. It also could be life-saving. And if you have happier employees because you're saving their lives and considering them, that obviously trickles down into the customer experience as well. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Great points. And even one of the things they said is, they saw, not only the reduction in minutes, which is the equivalent to many work orders that they could potentially pick up, but the CSAT, the customer experience, and then the safety in the field, just being equipped, know what the situation is, right? Just in a brief instead of having to go and traverse an entire database. It's really powerful.
Absolutely. Back to you, Gerardo.
It is, and so a couple of things to unpack there, both on the frontline experience and the customer experience. But let's do them one at a time. And I really liked how you positioned the experience of the engineers, the representatives, and how their day in the life can become very complex with these menial tasks that and it is something that the data supports. In our research, we ask whether the capturing data has become easier, and the returns are less than 25% of the workforce agrees with that. Whether the consumption of the data has become easier, and that's still less than 40%. And by contrast, have customer expectations, have management expectations, has the knowledge required, has the technology complexity gone up? We see agreement that is 80% or above. So this is a very real gap. And when we talk, when we say that artificial intelligence can transform the field service experience and the experience of the frontline at large, I believe this is what is meant. It's really bridging that gap between what's driving the friction in their day-to-day and making the capabilities align to the expectations. So the question I would have for you is, as we see that appetite from the field to adopt technology going up, artificial intelligence is in their top 3 capabilities that they would like to have, that they think would be very valuable. What are some nuggets for the organizations to not lose momentum from their workforce around this interest in artificial intelligence and the benefits that it can bring?
Yeah, I think a lot of things come to mind. Maybe the top couple of them are, one, the teams that are going through designing software solutions, they got to spend time with those users in the field. They got to know their problems. They have to see some of the pain firsthand, right? Sometimes they get a ticket filed. Maybe there's a complaint about this or that not working, which is maybe all the IT team ever gets. But I think also just intimately knowing, hey, what is the situation that technician is in when you're asking them to fill out a 50-page, feels like a 50-page, when you're asking them though to fill out a long form, right? Are they in the truck? Are they in some environment that is, is it hot? Is it out raining like it is today, where they have to actually fill in those forms? And then maybe just to understand some of that pain firsthand, so they can get a good sense of what the technicians are really feeling out there. So I'd encourage every every team out there, if they're not doing it, at least a couple times a year, just try to get out there more. We've learned a tremendous amount. We spend a lot of time with our users in the back office and the dispatchers, and we also spend a lot of time with them in the field. It's amazing what you see and what you learn from those interactions. There's still a tremendous amount of paper because it's just easier to just write things down than to actually punch stuff into an app. Oftentimes when they arrive on site, they're re-interviewing the customer all over again just because the data is there, but it's just really difficult to consume. So I think that it's, think about those investments that you've made in data and capturing it and centralizing it. And then think about how you can unlock that for your users to just simplify it. Every interaction, measure it very closely. Try to drive down the number of taps someone has on a mobile screen to get to the solutions. And maybe the last one too is that a lot of our customers have made huge investments in knowledge. And there's actually a lot of data that sits just within the existing work order history, the asset service history. So think about how to tap into those and utilize them, because agents are the perfect tool to be able to capitalize on all the data that you have in your system, and to be able to get the right insights and bubble those up to those technicians so they can get to the work really, really quickly.
Yeah, I agree on all of those. And I'm curious, one of the things we're seeing is the bottoms up appetite for this type of solutions. As you're going out with your customers, with your prospects, is this something that you're also seeing? Is it more of a top down, or do you see both worlds coming together in terms of
I think it's
for these applications?
It's a bit of both. I mean, AI, it's in our consumer applications today. I mean, I've got an iPhone here. It's got AI capabilities baked into it. Android has the same thing. It's in all of our apps. So I think users are really used to now seeing these in their day-to-day lives, and so they're used to interacting with AI. We've seen technicians that one of the most painful things that for them is to actually summarize what was done on the job, and so they'll go into ChatGPT, they'll talk into it, they'll copy and paste the information into the work order summary. We've built a feature to handle that exact use case, post-job summary. It saves them about 10 to 15 minutes every time, so they're not having to go back and rethink about what they did. And so technicians they're starting to get used with these capabilities now, and same thing with dispatchers. So AI is there.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a lot of our consumer applications, and from the IT and from the business side of things, I think they understand that, hey, this is something we all got to get on. There's I think a fair amount of urgency that's already there with teams today to say, hey, our competitors are probably already doing something with AI. They're transforming their businesses, they're scaling up, they're solving the resource challenges that they have. So we got to get on it. So this is a point where I think we've got, both groups, I think, aligned pretty well on, hey, this is something we want to go and do.
Yeah. And before I move on to customer experience, you reminded me of a statistic that I think is very relevant here. Which is 1 in 4 engineers that accept that technology has made them more efficient in their day-to-day also say that same technology has not reduced their level of mental stress. And as organizations say, well, how do I keep the talent? How do I align the resources that I have with the growing demand and the complexities of the customers? The fact that those places where humans continue to be involved and leading the charge are not becoming drivers of friction, drivers of mental stress, is a way of securing that workforce, of driving the career opportunities, of preserving the talent and getting results that benefit all around, I believe.
Gerardo, I just want to make another comment too, and I love it because it's worth a double click. And Michael, your suggestion of doing technician ride-alongs and getting out there on the front line and learning and listening and taking that feedback and enacting it into your innovation pathways as an organization couldn't be more critical. There's still a disconnect from the front line. They still don't feel like they have a role in innovation. They still don't feel like management listens to them in general. And they definitely don't feel like when they do listen that they actually take that information and do anything with it. So there's certainly opportunities for growth with respect to their involvement in shaping the future. And look, why is that important? 2 things, right? 1, it's going to help utilization and all the goodness that we're trying to accomplish. 2, it's going to create a stickiness to the job and the career. making the field service profession fun, making it feel like it's their baby, making it feel like, they're part of what their daily, headaches are, or how do they get rid of some of those headaches by getting their voice heard. So I couldn't agree more with the listening element that you're talking about here. It is so critical, and there's still a huge gap between leadership and the front line.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see it still today in implementations, and customers that are coming online either with new capabilities or with field service for the first time. It's take a look at the requirements. How much of this to be vetted with the front line? We understand that, hey, for compliance reasons, you have to get that data into there, right? It's mission critical operations organizations. It's very important, but yeah, you do have to spend some time in the front line, I think, to really understand what their challenges are. What are those environmental things that you didn't think about that are just very real today, right? Connectivity, right? Is another great example of it, right? So, but yeah, I would encourage everyone to go out there and do it. And ride-alongs, they're fun, they're fascinating. Like there's a lot to learn there, and I think building that partnership, that's a huge opportunity between IT teams and frontline workers. That should be a really strong partnership, I think, in every organization.
That's it. So another point that you started to tease out was this connection to the customer experience, and the benefits from an operational cost perspective, efficiencies, the experience of the front line are all necessary, but the truth is they cannot come at the expense of that customer experience. We see that from a service leaders' perception as well. 77% say that the main driver that would lead them to scale their AI initiatives is to see an impact in improved customer experience. So you've started to give a couple of examples, but can you elaborate on how these autonomous assistive agents play a role into transforming that customer experience?
Yeah, so let's go back to I think the scheduling example is a good one maybe to double click on for that. So deploying an agent who has a pretty good set of instructions that has been given guidance by the service organization about how to interface with customers is a huge value add. And so these agents can go off, they can go live in the channels that customers engage in. They can go beyond the SMS channels, they can be on the chat channels, they can, in the near future, they're going to be on the voice channels as well. You're going to be able to call up and talk to an agent directly. So it gives you an opportunity to put someone within the channels, a new teammate in the channels that the customers engage in. So meet them where they are. And then on top of that, they have all the knowledge and they understand how, scheduling an appointment and resolving an issue related to that needs to happen, both from the customer's perspective, because they understand with those natural language inputs what the problem is. I think one of the aha moments for a customer was to not only show, hey, the steel thread of going in and creating a new appointment, but we were actually able to add in some instructions to empathize with what the customer's issue is, right? And then have the agent actually respond and say, hey, but actually we're sorry to hear that. That is not a great situation. We will jump in and try to fix this for you as quickly as possible. And that's something that other technologies in the past haven't really been able to do. So that meeting them on the channels, being able to have a closer connection with them, and then available 24/7 as well. So you don't have to wait, for those odd hours to go and make a call to someone or to engage with a person to live chat. But you have these agents that are available and really at your convenience to go through and engage with. So all those kinds of factors, being able to identify the right type of work also is a huge one. So what is my problem? The agent can go and understand, map it to the types of work that the organization is equipped to support. And do all that scheduling heavy lifting in the background, right? So it's one application that they go through, whether it's a chat thing or voice, and solves their problem all within just a matter of a couple of minutes maximum. So it's a huge, huge. It's going to be a huge driver, I think, of customer satisfaction for our customers.
Michael, I love this topic of meeting the customer where they want to be met, because one of the things that I'm commonly hearing service executives talk about is this whole concept of how can AI standardize and create governance around execution, right? Step-by-step guidance, guided workflows. Let's lead our engineers down the path of resolution in the most expedient way that we possibly can. And let's standardize that across our organization if that same scenario comes up again. And yeah, that's great. Obviously, that's a scenario where you want to replicate and get efficient in the delivery and the resolution. But across all the different customer touch points, as they get to that point, there are opportunities to meet the customer where they want to be and not get caught in this standardization and governance, area, when we need to still find a way to arrive at personalization, right? So, how can we balance between standardization, governance, and personalization for the customer, and do it their way, and allow them to feel unique in their preferences and in terms of how they prefer to engage. And I think that's an important balancing point.
Yeah, totally agree. And then I think the other part that these agents unlock, it's not just meeting them where customers are at, but there's actually a pretty good amount of data that organizations have captured that intimately understand what the customer preferences are, right? We all get CSAT surveys after the job, and we go in and we put in information about what went well and the things that didn't work well. But now this gives an opportunity to unlock that data as well into this flow of work. So not only are you scheduling on behalf of what the organization KPIs are and what you need to meet, but then you're also now able to take into account what the customer truly wants, right? And so that is another huge opportunity, I think, to really transform the way that just this one scheduling use case is with an agent. And I think that once you start to think about other places within the operation, technicians, the back end service operation owners, like there's a lot there that we can go and do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sentiment mining, all sorts of good things. So, very cool.
Yeah. And the common theme that I heard in the examples of the impact that you talked about was relationship. That's the word that kept coming to me. And in any meaningful relationship that we have in life, first off, we need the other person to understand us so that they know what we care about. And then that they have both the willingness and the ability to help us deal with those things that we care about. So the examples that you gave, they all spoke to those traits, which I think it's very exciting that we're able to talk about this from an artificial intelligence capability, and that the North Star is keeping that relationship element at its core. I think that's critical. So all of this is very exciting, but I would also like to talk about how to get it right. How do organizations translate all these possibilities and the relevance of it into a successful outcome? And as you've gone and started doing these implementations, learned about the customer's needs, the use cases, what are some of the patterns that you're starting to see in terms of how does an organization prepare itself on the data that they have, on the internal talent that exists within their teams, on the change management capabilities, so that the implementation that is to come has a better chance of succeeding?
Yeah, and we've been engaged super closely with customers, learning a tremendous amount from them as they get hands-on with building out their use cases. So our customers know what their goals are, right? They know really where they're struggling. They can go and refine that data by going and talking and engaging, I think, with their workforce as well. But they all have, I think, a pretty good sense, and many of them have started to pull together visions of where AI goes. I encourage any customer to really, if they haven't started, to really just roll their sleeves up and just get going. You don't have to make a major investment to start realizing some ROI immediately. The tooling that we build at Salesforce, the Agentforce Studio, the Builder, the Prompt Builder, it's all designed to really help you build and create and customize rapidly. And we've seen a lot of success. The AAA story is great. It's very, very fast, but we worked with other customers in a very similar type of engagement where, we can actually get it done in even less time now. So because the tooling has improved tremendously from when we engaged with our friends at ACG, back in the summer. So This stuff is moving very, very quickly, and it doesn't need a whole lot to really get started and get going. So I'd encourage customers, think about their top pain points. Go have a discussion. Have a discussion with us at Salesforce and present them to us, and we'll give you guidance on exactly where to get going. And if you need that extra help, I think that we can certainly also offer up some insights on how to get the ball going on this one. But I think it's really important, really, to just get started. Get hands on. You know what you want to go build, and you don't have to build everything all at once. But get that first 1 or 2 use cases where you can see exactly how this comes together and see where how you can start realizing value almost immediately.
Yeah, and that speed to value, it's a great point, because the biggest source of resistance that is being reported is 41% of leaders say they don't have clarity around the return on investment, and that might give them pause around the implementations. So knowing that the outcome, that return on investment, is not necessarily 2 years out, 1 year out timeline, but that it can scale with the use case. I think it's an important nugget to consider as organizations are thinking about this. The other roadblock that I want to talk about has to do with internal talent, and we see 32% of service leaders saying that even though more than half plan to invest more in artificial intelligence in 2025 than they did the year before, the lack of internal talent to be able to leverage these AI capabilities is something that is slowing down the implementations and the internal buy-in with the different stakeholders. And we see this something similar from the voice of the contact center agent research that we performed at the end of last year, where 75% of the agents, I anticipated this earlier in the podcast, they say that the technology knowledge that is required to do their day-to-day has increased. How to transform this perception from scary, there's another platform, another technology that I need to learn and get familiar with, and by the way, have it integrate with the rest of the things that I already have, and instead see it as a lever that complements those capabilities. In other words, how do you get over the scar tissue from other types of implementations?
Yeah, that's a really good point. So the way that this platform, this Agentforce platform is designed, is really targeted to not just our admins who we love and our developers, but also to the business user as well. We want them to actually be able to understand exactly how an agent comes together, to be able to define them. There's a set of instructions that you feed into these agents, and it's done with natural language. You can do things like take job descriptions and take certain tasks as you describe them to your team, and you can actually incorporate that language directly in to give the agent the guidance that they need to understand exactly what it is to go do. So we really built a platform that really helps democratize this type of application development for more than just one user type who's traditionally our admins, to go even well beyond. And on the user end, what we've really done, and we've actually seen some customers start to implement it this way, where they're actually just all in on AI, right? Everything from the embedded experiences, which is just at the top of every single work order or on that home screen that every dispatcher logs into, to just really going in and designing the experience to be conversational, right? I just saw a customer the other day that sent me an amazing demo in Spanish, and they basically replicated all the capabilities they have within the mobile experience to be fully conversational. Everything from telling me about what my work order is, to being able to capture information, to summarize it and output it. And you didn't have to actually go in and traverse the normal UI, which I thought was incredible to see. And for them, they were saying, hey, you know what, actually going through this instead of the mechanics of data filling and some of the other things that we've deployed to users in the past, this is actually just a lot faster and a lot more user friendly. It's just way more intuitive than it has been with other offerings that we've tried to roll out. And we don't have that. We don't think we're going to have that same training curve that we have with other things. So it's really exciting to see what customers are doing, and they're starting to prove this technology out for us. That hurdle of getting up and going and familiar with it. I mean, we all know how to ask questions and how to type, and the agents are really poised to be able to help support those things that really should just be much easier for all of us. And so really great to see the examples, and I think we're we're starting to see a lot of those barriers to be reduced. There's a lot less friction.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if you planned it or not, but as I heard you describe this, different words, but the way that the ease of use comes across is the same way in which you described the customer experience earlier. And this is something that I would encourage every organization to mimic, both for the customer experience as well as for their frontline, which is meet your teams where they are. That natural language capabilities, that ability to talk in their language, given their skills, that is meeting them where they are, which is the theme that is more accepted and common in the customer end, not as much for the frontline. So to me, that's a very positive thing to hear, and something that I believe service leaders need to put more attention into as they think about the change management and the adoption of technologies.
On the ROI and change management topic, Gerardo, if I could just make a couple points here. One of the things that I think is a real big challenge for service organizations is defining their as-is state, understanding where they are currently in order to potentially grow with the supplement of new innovative technologies like what we're talking about today. And so the results that are achieved are the baseline that we're starting from is perhaps not the right baseline. And so I would emphasize getting the appropriate as-is state figured out before embarking on these initiatives. The second thing is involve your frontline. We've talked about that. Be present if you're overseeing this initiative, be present for the teardown and the rebuild. And I got to tell you, we've talked about the challenge of taking AI from pilot to scale. I don't think you can think about AI any longer as a pilot. I just don't. I think it is systemic to everything that we're going to do moving forward. And so for those organizations that are taking this approach of thinking big, starting small, sure, I get it, right? Logistically speaking, I get it. But I would really encourage you to think big and go big, because this is a systemic change that's happening within our world, not just service. And you've got to figure this out. And so those are just some of the things that I would encourage from some of the listening points I've extracted from some of our member organizations. So.
Yeah, and even customers that we see that have started with the 1 or 2 use cases, they rapidly iterate. They go fast, and it's just incredible to see how they've gone through. And I think we're going to see some major transformations of our customers within the next 6 months to a year, and we're starting to see some of them trickle in with the early adopters. But I'm excited to see exactly how they're reimagining and re-envisioning how this is going to work. Like the example I gave with a customer that already just set aside the app interface and it's all conversational. Like that's incredible to see. And so our customers, like once they get the ball rolling, like they move fast. It's incredible to see. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, great points. And I want to round up the picture and this how to get it right. We talked about what the customer expects. We talked about how to manage the change with the front line. There's the executive sponsorship as well. And we currently have in market another survey, which is the service leaders agenda. And not just AI, but thinking about the initiatives that service leaders consider necessary to drive a better experience, a better performance of their organization. What we hear is that the biggest source of resistance to get this deployed is coming from the office of the CEO or the office of the CFO. What are some of the observations as you've engaged with champions of AI initiatives that they're measuring, they're communicating the impact from what they're doing to these C-level conversations? What are some of the things that they're doing well that others could be learning from, perhaps?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. The first thing is to help with the messaging that every customer's competitor is already investing in this. I mean, they're clear, and many of them that already have examples in production. I mean, those are things that if I was a CIO or the CEO and I don't have anything yet, I would be maybe a little worried about, something to keep an eye on, because you know, these things are already happening, and you know, they're at risk of getting left behind if they don't really, like John was mentioned, just figure out how to start going all in. I think on the other part too is that you've got to get going, get your experts. You know, start with a small team. You're going to make a lot of progress. You don't have to go and, you know, run a whole major program around this stuff. I think with the right set of experts in the organization, the right executive sponsor, you're going to make a lot of progress very, very quickly. I challenge any CEO or CIO on the cost to say, hey, you know what? I think we can actually give you ROI a lot faster with a lot lower investment than what you can think. I would love to, you know, figure out how to walk them through that, because I think that this is you know, this is a different platform. This is different from the way product has been built in the past. This is really intended to move quickly, iterate, and go.
You know, Gerardo, I just want to talk about some of the things that I'm extracting from member discussions constantly, which is, you know, AI in a lot of ways has served the purpose of being the tipping point for a much bigger issue that's facing the technical roadmap within the service and organizational environment, which is that legacy platforms are threatened. The incumbent platforms are threatened because, you know, there's been this series of modernization efforts over a period of the last decade. And, you know, the pandemic infused this thrust of digitalization in little pockets. And, you know, that single pane of glass approach that we are constantly evangelizing was thrown to the wayside for pockets of innovation. And so now you've got these platforms that are perhaps legacy, older in nature, have perhaps some security threats built into them. They're not scalable with the organization with some of these new capabilities. And it's leading to field service management systems being one of the top technical investments this coming year, which is pretty interesting. And so I wonder if AI is the tipping point to unraveling a much bigger issue facing the service leader. And I think you and I have our opinions on that topic, because we've rifled back and forth at each other on many occasions on this topic. So just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no, I agree. We talked about this as one of our predictions for 2025. Michael, I don't know, do you care to react to any of that? Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general I agree. I mean, there's so much to uncover and unpack, and you know, I think we're seeing stuff at the start of the year, and I think the end of the year is going to look very different in terms of AI, just how fast and how rapidly iterative you know, everything is. Even internally, we've started to release things on a monthly cadence, and the technology is moving just so fast, and you know, our customers really got to get on board and start using it.
Good. So I have one last question, because you brought up the right set of experts and the right sponsor as some of the key success factors for the AI implementation. And a key player there is the IT side of the house. One of the things we're looking to uncover in our State of AI research, again, final days to participate, we'll include the link in the comments. But one of the things is how the ownership of AI initiatives is relating to the type of benefits that organizations are seeing, to the speed at which they're obtaining, they're seeing some of the impact materializing, how it varies in terms of the roadblocks that they're experiencing, both internal and external. So from your experience, again, we see organizations across the spectrum, from AI being completely owned by IT to being completely disaggregated into the individual operational teams. Do you have a point of view on is one better versus the other? Any recommendations? Any warnings, perhaps, for a particular setup?
Yeah, I definitely have seen sometimes the organizational challenges and structures get in the way of getting these projects, I think, up and going and be successful. I would encourage customers to, one, just get both your business side of the house and your IT teams talking together. The business knows exactly where the pain points are. They know what the operational KPIs are. They're close to the field. They understand what the problems are. I think the IT team, in this one, there's got to be a really strong partnership between them. Where we've seen success too is just who is that single executive sponsor within these organizations that can help drive accountability. We're more than happy on our end on Salesforce to give a perspective, and we've even got documentation, and we've spent a lot of time interfacing with customers and what we think the right structure is to help drive these projects and who the right people are to be involved in them. People who know the business, who understand where the data is, and those who can roll their sleeves up and get hands on keyboard. So we can certainly work with any customer and give them a perspective on how to get a successful project off the ground and going. But really that business and the IT side, you got to have a strong partnership there in order to really get going. The other part, just to say, is that the stuff that we are building and shipping, at the end of the day, it's a platform. And if you're too siloed, you're going to lose opportunities to reuse, things, and reuse learnings and insights. So, I would hope that our customers are centralizing at least feedback and learnings, as much as possible within their orgs, even if there are different groups or different business units that are launching AI projects.
Great, appreciate the point of view. John, do you have any final thoughts before we get maybe a final gotcha moment, best practice from Michael as we near the end of our podcast today?
No, why don't we move there and I'll react.
Yeah. So Michael, before we learn a little bit about yourself, which I think is also important, you've shared a wealth of knowledge and experiences here. I don't know if there's any best practice gotcha moment, any anecdote that you'd like to double click on before we wrap things up.
Yeah, I think just to go and summarize some different points that I was trying to make here. I think one, just know your problem space, get closer to your customers, get closer to your technicians. I think that's really important. You can't go in assuming that you understand those problems really, really well. I think it's worth to go do a little bit of research and have those conversations, and like I said, get tighter. I think on the other end of it too, just on the technology side, know your data, know where your data is, know the data that you need to be able to feed into the agents to be able to get to the right outcomes. So it's going to be really important. You've all invested very heavily in solutions to capture data, solutions to integrate it, solutions to clean it up. Now here's an opportunity for you to be able to get some really amazing return on those investments by having an agent that can actually go in and be data driven and be able to capitalize on everything that you've already done. And so I think those are a couple of key takeaways. And then the other one is, just get going, move quick with this stuff. This is really exciting times. This is a transformational point for software in general. So come join us, get on there, get on the rocket ship, like John said.
The only other thing I would supplement, Michael, in some of my other comments sprinkled throughout the discussion, I don't need to rehash those, but supplemental to the discussion would be thinking about the KPIs and metrics that you're looking at with respect to the health and wellness of your service business. And, when we ask that, what quantity of metrics are being measured by service leaders in our annual KPIs and benchmark survey, I think it was somewhere between 17 and 20 for average organizations. Those are achieving average results across a series of metrics. Those that are achieving best-in-class results commonly are measuring more KPIs, 27 actually. Now, as you categorize those KPIs across the service organization, there's customer metrics, there's employee metrics, there's cost, there's revenue, there's sustainability metrics, which is a huge missed opportunity because that's becoming more important to the corporate agenda. AI impacts all of these metrics. So if you're trying to build your story in terms of what AI is going to do for your enterprise, you've got to revisit your KPI stack and say, okay, what impact is it going to have on X, Y, and Z? And how does that calculate into a theory here that could impact the organization over time. So, that would be my encouragement, and happy to talk through that in a follow-up conversation with our listenership, because it's something that we're quite passionate about.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, our AI is not going to just sit there and read the data and interpret it, but it's actually going to change it. It's going to shape it. Yeah. And it's going to have a major impact down the road on all of those KPIs that get monitored pretty closely.
Well, why don't we do one more question for you, Michael, as we round out here and reach time. So we've gotten to know you on the professional level. Maybe something about yourself personal, something you're looking forward to, or something about yourself that our listenership doesn't know.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe one that's top of mind, because the season, I think, is fast approaching. So within the past 12 months, I've got two boys. I have a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old. 8-year-old plays every sport that you can imagine. And I got into some coaching, assistant coaching. I'm not quite there to take on the full responsibility of the head coach yet, but it's been, it's been fun, just rewarding, just to see kids get better from week to week, and to see the team dynamics and how they interact with each other. I will say the blood pressure probably has risen on more than one occasion, probably more often. My wife is, always keeping an eye on me to make sure that I'm okay on that front. But it's been incredibly fun. Sports a big part of my life, and looking forward for Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday coming up here, and so it's great to be able to see my son engage on that front, and to be pretty close to it.
That's outstanding. Well, he's Michael Gonzalez. He's the VP of Product Management for Salesforce Field Service. Thank you to our listenership for joining us today. Today's podcast will be available for consumption via LinkedIn, via whatever channel you subscribe to. You can go to our website as well. And I want to just leave you with this message that this whole concept of harnessing technology and humanity together is critical in evolving your thoughts in terms of technology automation and how it will impact customer experience. It's not one or the other, it's both. And what is that new relationship that's forming between humans and technology? And that's why we're naming the theme of this year's Smarter Services Symposium, Harnessing Humanity and Technology for Next Level Service. So mark your calendars, September 8th through the 10th, come to Chicago. We'll have 350 plus service executives collaborating, talking about next practices, and really excited to welcome many of our partners there. Michael, thank you for your time today. It's been a really enjoyable discussion, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for joining.
Likewise. Thank you, guys.